Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AI Healthcare Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Reed, and today we are joined with my friend, Niel de Kock, who's the author of The AI Way, Decoding AI's Impact on Everyday Life. He's focused on education and self learning. Thank you so much for your time today, Neil. I really appreciate it.
It's no problem. I'm glad to be here.
And
Thank you for the opportunity.
no, great. And can you just just kind of expand upon like what really got you into kind of the AI ML space?
Okay, what really got me into the AI ML space was the first time I used ChatGPT, which is about, I think, almost a year ago, and
Uh-huh.
discovered what ChatGPT 3.0 could do. So it really got me more into AI and the AI field.
Okay, great. And what were some of the prompts that you were asking ChatGPT when you were first using it?
At that time, I was studying data analyst course, so it really helped me to understand Python better and the data analyst field better. So it really helped in just getting a better understanding of that.
Okay, great, great. And what you were saying kind of bleeds into my next question nicely about, there's AI, which is artificial intelligence, and machine learning. There's a lot of relatability to both of those terms, but they're also very different, and people have the tendency to kind of mix them up a little bit. Can you just explain to people who are not as familiar with those terms, how they're similar, but also at the same time how they're different?
Okay, this is how I interpret it. So this is my understanding.
Uh-huh.
To me, artificial intelligence is the ability of computers or robots to perform tasks that are usually associated with humans. An example of this is how Siri works by learning from large amounts of data. So when you talk to Siri, it uses past data to understand what you actually want.
Okay.
That's artificial intelligence. Then the next concept that I think is always mixed up is machine learning, which machine learning is about computers learning from data, like we learn from our experiences. An example of this, like when you choose a movie on Netflix, the Netflix takes that data and puts it in a database, and then afterwards it tries and recommends new movies to you on past movies you have watched.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
then the last concept that's always, I think, everybody sort of does not understand is large language models,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually a very confusing subject. Because that's more advanced computer programs that can understand and generate human like languages. And they do this by uh, analyzing huge amounts of text data. It's similar to you learning a new language or new information by reading a lot.
Awesome.
So an example of this could maybe be like when you prompt ChatGPT for writing me an email. So it will go look at past email data and then write you an email.
Great. And you kind of brought up an interesting point. Now it seems the big push now, specifically with large language models, is having them more specialized. And specifically when they're more specialized, they tend to be um, closed source. The technology companies that we hear about, like OpenAI, for example, they're mainly open source technologies. So could you just kind of expand upon um, those two terms, the difference between open and closed source?
Open source is like ChatGPT. They focus not on no specific subject. So you can ask ChatGPT almost any subject,
Uh-huh.
and as long as it has the data, it will answer you. But it might not be a very good answer because it has such a broad focus.
Hmm.
Where other large language models or specialized large language models will maybe be just for writing emails,
Okay.
and they will only be great at writing emails, but you can't ask it about anything else
Okay.
because it's not what it's focused on. As long as it emails, it will write a great email, but as soon as you go outside that parameter, it can't do it.
Hmm. And it's kind of interesting just kind of seeing how we've large language models. When they first started coming out, you wanted to make them as big as possible and to have as much data as possible. But kind of what we're learning is that the more data you fill it with, you might not necessarily know where those sources are coming from, and then the model might get confused, which then might mean the model might hallucinate and give you an incomplete or an incorrect answer. So it's just kind of interesting just seeing the kind of smaller large language models is kind of the technological innovation moving forward.
Yes, it seems like the smaller models is going to be the focus from now on. They're going to build models for a specific purpose, like for healthcare or for emails or for data, just data analysis.
Mm.
Especially now with the GPT store as well, that's going to be for a specific purpose.
And how do you, from where you are in the world right now, you know in Asia, like how have you seen kind of AI being implemented in the healthcare space?
In the healthcare space, currently, they have not used it yet in Taiwan.
Uh-huh.
I think they are really just waiting to see what other countries do, because I believe one of the biggest problems if they have a national health insurance, so they have like a very large data source of the whole population of Taiwan. So
Uh-huh.
it's not just a few million people, it's the whole population. So I don't think they really know what to do with that data without compromising people's privacy, or they have to get permission on how to do it, or they have to take out sort of the specific details of each person and only use it in a general way. So
Uh-huh.
it's very difficult to say for sure what they would do so far.
Okay, awesome. No,
But I
that's
have seen it used to help just tourists coming from another country to act as interpreter between uh, people from Taiwan, and maybe the tourist comes from Korea, and the AI will act as an interpreter.
wow. And so it's really on the continent of Asia, from what you're seeing, it's very country to country.
So far, yeah, it seems to be more country to country. Yeah, from what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the since this podcast is kind of geared more towards a policy perspective, so I'm very interested in learning more kind of what specifically policymakers and people who make laws and elected officials need to understand about the AI ML space and its relation to large language models. So, from your experiences, kind of in the space, what is one particular area, or what is one thing that lawmakers and elected officials need to take into consideration when constructing policies moving forward to address people's fears and safeties around this technology?
I think one of the problems that showcased when Facebook was in front of the committee a
Uh
few
huh.
years ago, it showcased that you need specialists as part of that committee that understand how social media sites work. And at the same time, you need psychologists to understand the influence social media sites has on people.
Uh huh.
So I think the problem now is you need such specialists in AI and large language models and machine learning to be part of those committees so that you have a very deep understanding of AI. So I think the one problem is you need very specialized people, and the other problem is I think people have such broad range of fears between Skynet from the Terminator, or that the data will be used against them at a later stage,
Uh huh.
or that the data they have now, what about their past data? Can that now be used by any company that has their data, or what? How will it be worked out?
Uh huh.
And at the same time, I think the problem is committees don't know which laws to make that AI just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You must sort of still have AI progress, but under more control.
Okay. So like to kind of bring it back to kind of, so you're from South Africa. So
Yes.
what have you kind of seen specifically with lawmakers and policymakers in South Africa when it comes to the technology?
So far, I haven't seen a lot of evidence that I have really brought AI or talked a lot about AI.
Uh huh.
They seem more at this stage not so concerned about it, which is a bit disheartening.
Uh-huh.
because I think it's taking AI is replacing jobs and changing the future way faster than we can even consider.
Uh-huh.
So it's a bit disheartening. Here in Taiwan, I have seen that AI is being discussed more and more and what impact it might have. So that is a good thing.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just very interesting to kind of see different, different continents, like, Europe with the EU AI Act. Here in the United States, it's much more, because it's we're kind of it's should this be a federal issue? Should this be a state issue? So we have that argument. Um, and yeah, it's the average time to get a bill passed, specifically here in the United States, it's about on the federal levels 10 to 15 years, and you know you know that can be a lifetime.
Yeah, that's a
With the
lifetime,
technology.
especially in the AI field. I mean, just in this past year, the improvement that ChatGPT has,
Uh huh.
and they are saying that ChatGPT 5.0 will be coming out this year, and that's then means in a year and a half to 2 years, ChatGPT has had 3 updates
Uh huh.
in 2 years. So the laws will have to be a lot faster. So maybe at the state level, it would be better to create laws
Hmm.
around data the and artificial field than at the government level.
Awesome. Yeah. No. It's like you read one thing in this in TechCrunch, which is a big newsletter here about kind of all the technology innovations that are happening here in the United States, and then you read that, and then all of a sudden, 2 days later, that's totally old technology. So it's just it's fun, but it can be a little tiring sometimes, just kind of keeping track of everything.
Yeah, that's I found. I think really most people are just not keeping track unless you are an AI person that is in the field and you have creating AI videos and posts.
Hmm.
I'm barely keeping track, so I don't know how the everyday person is keeping track.
Yeah, no, and I think it's that's kind of one of the things. It's like, how do you stay ahead of the innovate? Well, and it's interesting because, um, and I was born in the '90s, but when the internet and computers started becoming mainstream, from what I've read, even then you didn't really have a lot of this fear and anxiety that people in the '90s had with computers as they do now with AI. So I don't know if it's because if it's just a different set of circumstances, if it's just totally new technology, but it doesn't seem like that there was as much fear around computers as there is around AI.
I think the rate of development of the internet was much slower, so people got more used to it
Uh huh.
because you went from telephone dialing up on the internet, very slow internet, to 2 3 years before it was a bit faster, to 2 years more to really fast internet. I think the problem now is it's just happening so fast that people feel a bit overwhelmed with how fast it's taking place.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's just the speed of development is just too quick.
Hmm. Yeah. No. No. It's like, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, what's AI going to look like, in 2 years or even 5 years? That's kind of the
Yeah, even
question.
5 years. I mean, I just read a report about the IMF, and they say it will. I wouldn't say replace jobs, 60% of jobs, but it will totally change 60% of jobs in America, and I can believe that. And it's like you sort of have to learn your own job again just to keep up with AI. Because if AI can do this step, I need to be able to be better at the next step to
Hmm.
be do that instead of doing the AI part. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
No, you brought up an interesting. You said 60% of jobs in the United States will be changed because of AI. Now, I'm just curious. When you say changed, does that mean those jobs completely eliminated, or it's just shifting focus on other things within those jobs?
So far, from what I've read and from other people's interpretation, it means more like maybe for now you are a copywriter and you write the copy for advertisements.
Uh huh.
So you may not be You may be a copywriter, but you will more be reading what AI writes and improving on the AI writing. You will not be working from nothing anymore. You will just be improving on what AI writes. So I think, or you will be learning how to write the best prompt to get the best response from a large language model for the best copy. You will
Uh-huh.
not be writing from scratch the whole copy anymore.
Wow. So, but there's always still going to be like um, some a human as the referee.
Yes, for now, I think there will always be a human as the referee to see is it the correct message for your market that you want, or is the message too broad and it needs to be smaller,
Uh-huh.
or does the message it's totally incorrect and it might upset your audience, or is the message just needs to be more clearer on what they want or your audience wants. So I think
Hmm.
it's always going to have a in between a human that helps the AI for now at least.
Hmm. No, it's yeah, that's kind of what it seems like from the technology, and it's kind of, it's kind of been kind of drilled into people's heads here. It's like, there's always going to be a human there. It's not going to be like this automatic robot that's going to take over the world. And
Yeah.
so I just, and I think it's also important to understand that there's a difference between kind of the theoretical aspect of it versus the actual implementation of it. So it's like, how do you
Yes.
get people's fears over the theoretical aspect of it? So when you implement it, those fears are basically erased.
Yes, that's very difficult because theoretically you can replace the copywriter, but in practice you can't do that because you need somebody to read that and find out if it's the correct copywriting was done or the correct message was sent, or somebody will have to write the correct prompt or find out if this is the correct prompt or find out no this doesn't work for my audience, and then you have to go back and rewrite why it's not correct and rewrite a new prompt. So it's very difficult to find. I don't think AI will totally replace, at least for now,
Hmm.
people. I just think there is a new interpretation of your job.
Hmm. No, that's helpful. And Neil, where can people find more about you and your work?
I have a Twitter handle, which is thecock.neil.
Uh-huh.
And then I also have a LinkedIn page on my LinkedIn, also Niel de Kock. And then I have a weekly newsletter called the AI Way that they can join, where I focus on AI news in general and how AI can be used. AI is being used in the education sector, as well as how you can AI use uh, for personal use. So this week I focused on how you can use AI to learn Python.
Oh wow, it's
Yes.
amazing. And episodes are available of the AI Healthcare Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also available on my YouTube channel too, as well. AI Healthcare Podcast. And thank you so much for your time today, Neil. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you for the opportunity today. Enjoy your day.
You too. Bye.
Okay.